morning. So today I'm going to take the GPX FSE 300R out for a bit of a dual sport ride. See how it does.
Have fun with the mountains.
So we have a short stretch of highway, about 5 miles. So up into we're doing 65 at about 8k. That is with a 49 rear sprocket, which is down from the 52 stock. So we're doing 68. It's not screaming, but it's not putting along, and it's not fun, but it's not terrible. Perfectly doable. So we're heading up Deer Creek Canyon. It's quite a nice road, pretty twisty. Mountains, you get a lot of cyclists. So let's talk about the GPX FSE 300R. And I mean why I bought one and why I think other people may kind of zero in on them as a good deal. And I'd say number one, that is exactly what it is. It's a good deal. So I think it's important, I guess, that when I'm talking about things you understand a bit of context, because otherwise it's meaningless. So I've been riding, I got my motorcycle license in 2015 in the UK. My first bike was a 1977 Kawasaki Z400. I love that thing. You love your first bike, whatever it is. You don't really have anything to compare it to. So the fact that it had drum brakes, was from the 70s, had lost a couple of its horses, or a lot of them. It didn't bother me at all. I love that bike, and I rode that around the countryside where I was living at the time, and it was great. And then I moved out to the US in 2016, and I really sort of started searching for what bike I wanted, and I came across dual sport, and that just seemed to fit with the way I wanted to, I guess, explore the country that I just moved to. So in 2017 I bought a year 2000 Suzuki DR650, and I love that bike. I mean, if you want to talk about a kind of do it all pretty well, not terribly dual sport, that was a great bike for me to start kind of dual sporting on. I did the Trans-America Trail on that bike in 2018, and that was really my first dual sport trip up until July last year. Me and my wife and my daughter were living in Massachusetts, near Boston. So the DR650 was great for that. Well, my daughter was born in 2019. You don't have quite as much time for riding, so I'd just take it out. I'd take it out on the road for an hour, 2 hours. There's not really much dual sporting around where we were, not compared to here. So when we moved out to Colorado last July, I knew that I needed to get I didn't need to get. I wanted to get a more, let's say, capable off-road bike. You know, more enduro focused. Not that I'm an enduro rider. Something that you can dual sport, street legal, light, modern suspension. And the bike that I really wanted was a Beta 390 RS. I mean, that just seems like a great bike. Also, I mean, the Husky FE501S, the 350S, that's the equivalent EXDFs. They were what I wanted, and that was all. So I hadn't really heard of GPX. They weren't on my radar at all. They had never come on my radar. So, you know, I'm thinking, well, I don't have a shit ton of money. I don't have 12k just kicking around to spunk on a new bike. You know, 12k is a lot of money. I'm an average rider. I'm an intermediate. I'm definitely not an expert. I was like, well, I want a bike that's lighter, better suspended than the DR650. So, you know, I was thinking Japanese, so DRZ 400. It's not much of an upgrade from the DR, but it's an upgrade. Second hand, I could get one for $4,000. Probably do it. Or a new one for, was it 6,700, something like that. Which compared to 12k seems pretty reasonable. Or a CRF 300. But, well, and don't get me wrong, I think they're great bikes. But they weren't what I was looking for. So then I gradually, you know, filtering in, researching, and GPX starts coming into view, YouTube videos, whatever, and then start looking around, and I'm thinking this is if these are pretty legit in terms of kind of longevity, build quality, then it's exactly what I'm looking for. It's the price of a new Japanese dual sport, but it's very much more enduro focused and modernized than any of those, or most of those, should I say, the Japanese lineup, which obviously haven't, you know, the DRZ, the DR650 haven't changed in 25 years, something like that. DRZ, you know, 20 years. So I guess that's why it appealed to me. It was a brand new bike which I've never had, and I got it for half the price that I was kind of contemplating when I was looking at the Betas and the Huskies. That's a lot of money for me. So I think GPX really fills that gap for people like me who, if I wasn't married, if I didn't have a daughter, and I had a really well-paid job, just had a ton of disposable income to spunk on stuff, I'd have a whole garage full of stuff. But I don't. So I need something in between, and that's exactly what GPX is. GPX is that in between. I'd say you get 75% of the performance, the kind of quality, I guess. Maybe it's closer than 75 on build quality. I don't know. I've never owned any of those Austrian or the Betas, so I don't want to say anything beyond my understanding on those. But yeah, so I mean, just overall as a package, I would say that the GPX bikes are 75% there, in terms of their counterparts, for half the money. This was $6,400 shipped. It's half the price and you get pretty much most of the bike. So for me that's ideal. I didn't need, as much as I would love a Beta or a Husky, I'm not going to kid myself that I need a high performance bike. Especially nowadays, I'm just out exploring, kind of putting around. I just wanted a bike that wasn't so much of a pig as the DR, I guess. So for some more context, I am 5'8", so I'm a short ass, and I'm 150 pounds. So the DR for me, some people can get on the DR, get off-road, and rip those things. That comes down to skill and your ability, your strength. But for me, the DR is a big bike off-road. It's a lot of bike to pick up. It's a lot of bike to muscle around. So, and I guess times like today when I'm riding on my own, there would be places I would go on the DR and I'd see somewhere to, like a trail to go explore. And I'd kind of be like, do I want to go there, drop the bike a bunch, like, have to pick it up a bunch of times. It kind of stopped me from pushing myself, I guess, because I just didn't want to have to deal with the weight of it. So yeah, that's where I'm at on this. So the GPX, I only have 142 miles on this so far. Most of that was kind of just riding around the block. I got it in November, so it was too cold to ride, but I'd take little, trips around the neighbourhood just to get a feel for the bike, get used to it. I haven't really taken it on much dirt yet. So today, I guess that's what today is about. Today, got it's about a 160 mile loop. So as you saw, we had a tiny bit of highway, and then there's probably, in total, it's probably about 80 miles of roads like this, twisty mountain roads. Nice. I would ride these roads on this bike all day. That's a lot of fun. And then we're going to head over to the area where the Hayman fire was. So it's like a cleared out area, but there's some forest roads. So nothing crazy, but just so I can get a feel of how this does off-road. This thing's pretty torquey for a 300. I'm in third. You can hear I should be shifting down, but it'll just log and catch itself up. I mean, coming from the DR, I'm used to kind of logging down low. Yeah, so here you can see the burn area that we're coming into now. It's pretty large. It's a nice camping spot up there. Wow. Sweet. So while we have this nice backdrop, why don't we talk about the mods? Tyres, we have the Motos Tractionator Enduro Intermediate on the rear. That's a 120. I believe stock was 110. And on the front we have the Golden Tyre 216AA, and that is a 9090. So it's a little bit wider than stock. Stock was 80-100. What else have we got? Ultra heavy duty tubes in there. License plate bolted, and just fail safe zip ties around there just in case that bolt fails. Seat concepts, comfort, low. And I went for the low because I'm short. And when I first got the bike, I was worried it might be a bit too tall. So I just wanted to do everything I could just to help me get my feet down. Actually, I mean, I feel pretty confident on the bike in terms of its height. So I'm wondering if one day I'll go back and just get the comfort, the normal one from Seat Concepts. Maybe. I mean, for now this is fine. It's better than the stock seat. Handguards. New shift lever. Just purely because the other one, it's just too short. It's hard to shift in boots. So this one is I got it from AliExpress, and I'll come on to that point later about parts. Gone from the 52 rear sprocket to a 49, purely because I'm kind of dual sporting this rather than just straight trail riding it. So that just helps out on the road. I didn't have to get, but you have to shorten the chain. So the stock is a 118 links. So I just bought a new chain, just purely so that I still have the old 118 chain rather than cutting it up. So then if I ever want to chuck the 52 on there, I've got the corresponding chain just ready to go, and it's pretty much brand new. It's not really a mod, it's more of a necessity, but spark arrestor is Fish Moto. That's a Kit 40. That's great, just plugs right in, screws in, done. I think that's it. That's all it needs. I can feel my new chain needs to be adjusted. It's already kind of loosened off a little bit. It's a little bit slack. So that's 51, that's 3. Let's just find out, huh? So I mean, I'm liking this. I'm liking the GPX, the 300, compared to the DR650. Obviously, it feels very light, very nimble. So I'm still getting used to it. So I've never named any of my bikes before, but I do actually have a name for the 300, and she is called CC. Get out of this rut. So, why is the bike called CC? They're made in China, these bikes. So, she's from the CCP. Incredibly clever, huh? Just enough kind of bumps and ruts and puddles just to keep your brain engaged. not technical, but just on the first kind of dirt ride on the GPX. Yeah, it's a good little test. Right. Back to it. Where's me? When you pack your jacket away in your bag, you go to jump back on your bike and you realise your gloves are in your fucking pocket. Alright, let's get back on it. With gloves. So actually I think I was saying about that earlier about kind of parts. So I got a longer shifter from AliExpress. Now if you are contemplating buying one of these bikes, buying a GPX, I would just say that it's not even something to be wary of. It's something to be mindful of. So just know that the situation, you know, I'm so used to it with, especially with the DR650, which has, you know, remained unchanged for so many, you know, a couple of decades. I just got so used to that bike going onto RevZilla, Rocky Mountain ATV, Motorsport, wherever you get your gear from and your parts from. I was just spoiled with the DR, and you know, most people have this. This is the standard: is that you go in, you put in your year, your model, your year, you're making your model, and it'll bring you up all the parts you can get for your bike, which is great. So then that's the downside of these bikes, is you won't be able to just go in and you know, bang in GPX 2022 FSE 300R or the 450 or the 250. They're just not going to come up. They're not established enough. If you get one, you just have to understand that you're not going to have that luxury of just banging in your year, make, model and finding all the parts that fit. What you are going to have to do is search around the forums, search around, you know, people with GPX bikes on their YouTube channels if they're doing videos about them. It's safe to assume they're pretty knowledgeable and they've probably been through a lot of the stuff. This road gets busy. loving this bike. I guess my worry about it was that I should have got the 450. I was worried that the 300, you know, wouldn't be able to keep up on the highway, on the road. Not that I'm planning to ride it much on the highway, but on the road you want to be able to keep up. You don't want your engine to be screaming the whole time. So right now we're doing 50, 6th gear, 6k RPM. It's fine. If I am going to be riding this places like today that's 30 minutes or an hour from my house, it is 30 minutes or an hour from my house because I choose to take the twisty, slower routes because it's more enjoyable. So I'm not planning on riding this on the highway, really, unless I have to. If I'm going to be riding anywhere further west or further away, I'll just throw it in the back of the truck, save on tyres, save on road miles. But overall, I think it's a bargain. I think it's a great bike. So I've been on the bike for about 7 hours now. You know, taking breaks every now and again. Well, my arse is hurting. This low seat concept seat is better than the stocker, but it's not a touring seat by any means. So yeah, you get a pretty nice views from up here. I don't know if they come out on the GoPro, but pretty nice views of the mountains. And sometimes in these fields you get they have bison. I bring my daughter up here sometimes, try and see them. So I'm nearly home. This is about 10 minutes from my house. But overall, I mean, I think I'm going to be really happy with this bike. I was coming from the DR650. I wanted something lighter, more modern, so modern suspension, modern brakes. So the GPX ticks all those boxes. It doesn't have crazy, it's not a highly strong race engine. You know, it's a trail bike engine, so it doesn't have insane maintenance intervals. Not that never really bothered me. You know, I have no problem working on bikes. So let's sum it up. For £6,000, you basically get a £6,000, you basically get a brand new trail bike, dual sport bike with fully adjustable modern suspension. The suspension's good, brakes are good. Time will tell with the kind of build quality and longevity of certain stuff, but I mean, I've had no issues. I've done 280 miles now. I know that's not a lot, but you know, there's nothing to suggest that the build quality isn't there. So I guess we'll see over time how it goes, but I might do some more videos just for anyone who's interested in seeing how it does from the perspective of, you know, just an average rider coming from an old school Japanese dual sport. I think a lot of people kind of think Chinese bike, it's not going to be very good, but I think it fills a gap in the market for people who don't need that like immense jumping quality, but that want to get most of the way there for half the price. And I think that's what this bike is.